Essential daily yoga practice. Namaste. The yoga techniques and suggestions presented in this instructional video are not intended to be a substitute for proper medical advice. Consult your physician before beginning a new exercise program. Nora Benian assumes no responsibility for injuries suffered while practicing these techniques, so go easy, take your time, honor your body, and enjoy. We're going to come to lie on our back. The arms are away from the body with the palms facing up. The feet are wide on the mat, and the feet are also dropping away from each other, so we're not holding through the hips. Slide the shoulders down away from the ears and relax your jaw, allowing the upper and lower teeth to separate. Let's come to an easy breath. We're going to bring our hand onto our upper belly and focus our breath into this area where the hand is resting. Send the breath all the way down into the bottom of the lungs where the belly meets the ribs. Feel the hand rising against the breath, moving the belly upward, and feel it falling down inward as you exhale. Send more air down into the bottom of the lungs, expanding this area with the breath. And exhale slowly and completely. Inhale, filling up. Exhale, releasing the air. Filling up the belly with the breath. Allow the breath to move out slowly and easily. Inhale and exhale. Let's take another deep breath. And releasing it slowly. We're going to bring our hands to our side ribs now, close to the waistline, but just above it. And as you inhale, still fill the area we were just breathing into, but now add more air into the sides of the lungs. Feel the ribs moving outward as you expand the lungs in this direction. So your breath should be a little longer. Inhaling 2, 3, 4. Exhale 2, 3, 4. Inhale 2, 3, 4. Exhale 2, 3, 4. The idea is to keep the rhythm consistent, both the inhale and the exhale at equal count. So now we're going to bring the hands to the back of the ribs as much as possible. It's very difficult to actually touch the back ribs in this position, but if you can bring the back of the hands to the back ribs and maybe even just one hand, that would be helpful. As you inhale, still fill the front area where we had the hand first resting, and then continue to breathe into the sides of the lungs where you were breathing a moment ago. And now add more air into the back of the lungs, filling up into the back ribs. Now this is a more challenging area to fill, and will take some time to develop the coordination for it. But with time, you'll see that your lungs can expand 3 times the amount that they used to. And that means more oxygen and life force for your whole body and mind to be stronger and healthier. Let's continue breathing fully, filling the front and the sides and the back of the lungs. But you can remove the hand now and continue breathing in all the way around. Inhale fully and exhale completely. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And inhale. And exhale. Inhale, filling up all the way around. And exhale slowly, releasing all the air. Inhale, filling the front, the sides, and the back. And exhale, slowly draw the navel toward the spine as you complete this exhalation. And then come back to your natural breath. Let's turn the head to the left, bringing the right hand under the low back. The right shoulder will soften back toward the floor. And if this is really hard on the shoulder, you can slip the hand out from underneath you, but keep it in a similar position, just one that you can bear a little bit more comfortably. Allow the left cheek to drop toward the floor, releasing the jaw, allowing the upper and lower teeth to separate. And then let's deepen the breath, filling up toward the right upper part of the chest, encouraging the right shoulder to relax. Allow the head to continue dropping to the left, releasing tension in the neck. Inhale fully. And exhale completely. Let's take another full breath here, filling up. And slowly release all the air. Let's bring the head back to center, release the right hand out from underneath you, and take a breath. And then let's bring the head to the right, bringing the right cheek toward the floor and tucking the left hand under the low back, allowing the left shoulder to drop back toward the floor. Keep the jaw relaxed. Allow the weight of the head to continue dropping to the right. And bring the breath more deeply into the upper left part of the lungs, helping the left shoulder relax back down toward the floor. Inhale fully, filling up front, sides, and back, especially the upper left corner. And exhale slowly. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Come back to your natural breath. And return the head back to center. And take the left hand out from underneath you, turning the palm to face back up. Let's just take a couple of breaths here. From this position, we're going to move into bound angle. It's actually a reclined bound angle. Bring the soles of your feet together and allow the knees to drop out. We'll bring the arms into a similar shape, hands under the head, elbows dropping back. You can also let the hands rest above the head or beside the head if the shoulders are uncomfortable. Now there will be some difficulty in releasing the tension through the hips and the shoulders. You're always welcome to put a block or a bolster under the legs or under the elbows to assist in the relaxation and release of those joints. Let's continue breathing deeply, filling up the belly, the sides of the lungs, and the back of the lungs. And of course, exhaling slowly and completely. We'll be here for a little while. Continue breathing as fully as you can and think about taking the breath all the way up into the armpits. Tuck those hips into releasing so the weight of the legs can drop a little closer to the floor. There'll be moments of resistance, and just notice that you're resisting and see if you can let go. And if not, might be time to put something under the leg to support it. We'll be doing the same thing for the shoulders. Not everyone is going to get their elbows down onto the floor comfortably. There are all kinds of injuries we suffer throughout our lives, and we notice them in these types of practices, and it gives us incentive to move toward helping them and increasing mobility. So keep the breath flowing, keep the limbs dropping, and keep releasing through those main joints. Let's take another full breath. And as you exhale, you can release the arms back down by your sides, giving the shoulders a bit of a rest. And then reach the hands under the thighs and see if you can use the feet and hands to assist pulling the knees out to the sides of the body and up a little bit more towards the waistline. We don't want to use the inner leg muscles to do this. We want to keep them relaxed and open. So we're holding the legs wide with the hands, and then we're going to bring the knees in towards the chest with the hands so that the inner legs stay relaxed. Let's hug the knees in nice and tight and rock gently, small little rocks from side to side. We're going to place the hands on top of the knees and make circles with the legs. So the arms are doing the circling, the legs are passive. We'll do about 3 to 5 circles in each direction. This is to release tension through the low back and sacrum. We'll extend the legs up toward the ceilings. We can use the hands to massage the hamstrings, flexing the feet and pointing the feet. As you flex the feet, separate the toes wide, giving space between the toes. And as you point the feet, reach the tips of the toes towards the ceiling. Inhale, flex, separating the toes, and exhale, point. Let's make circles with the ankles, at least 5 in each direction. Big, wide, round circles, articulating the ankle joint. And from here, we'll grab our feet and pull our knees towards the armpits and to the outer edges of the body. If it's difficult for you to reach your feet, use a strap across the feet and pull the strap. Let's extend the legs and then bring the hands now to the thighs. And we're going to push the legs away with our arms, but our abdominal muscles are going to resist, so the legs don't go anywhere, even if you're pushing. So inhale, release, and exhale, push the legs. Push, 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 push. Inhale, release. And as you push the legs, the abdominals will not let the legs go anywhere. Inhale, release. And exhale, push hard with the arms. Good. Release. Inhale. And exhale. Use those abdominal muscles, keeping the legs in place. And exhale, push. Inhale, release. And push. Inhale, release. Exhale, pushing the legs as hard as you can. Inhale, release. And again, pushing 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In with the knees to the chest. And take a little breather. Let's extend the legs again toward the ceiling and press the hands into the floor. And as you do, lift the pelvis off the floor at least an inch, but not too high. Up and down. Up and down. Keep going, breathing as you go. Inhale, lifting the legs and lowering them down. Up and down. Up and down. Here you can reach up as high as you can with both the hips and the shoulders off the ground. Holding and release. Hug the knees back in toward the chest. So from here, we're going to bring the hands back to the floor and extend the legs back to the ceiling, lowering the right leg down slowly to the count of 4, and inhale back up to the count of 4. So left leg down, 2, 3, 4. Inhale up, 2, 3, 4. And right leg down, 2, 3, 4. Inhale up, 2, 3, 4. Left leg down. 2, 3, 4. Inhale up. 2, 3, 4. Keep your low back pressed to the mat and right leg down. 2, 3, 4. Inhale up. 2, 3, 4. Press that low back down, lowering the left leg. 3, 4. Inhale up. 2, 3, 4. Both legs down, keeping the low back pressed to the mat. And if it rises, you're going to stop and come back in the opposite direction. So exhale down, 2, 3, 4. Inhale up, 2, 3, 4. Press the low back down, 2, 3, 4. Inhale up, 2, 3, 4. Very good. And down, 2, 3, 4. Inhale up, 2, 3, 4. Bring the knees to the chest. Let's take a couple more breaths here. Let's bring the feet to the floor, thigh bone width apart. Bring the arms a little bit out to the sides. As you inhale, arch the back, lifting the back bottom ribs off the floor. And as you exhale, press every single vertebra of the spine down into the mat. Inhale, arch the back. Exhale, tucking the pelvis, pressing every single spine bone down. Very good. Continue, arch, inhale, and exhale, pressing down. Inhale, lifting the back ribs up, pressing a little bit more into the head, and exhale, pressing every vertebra down into the mat. Inhale, arch the back and press into the head, lifting the shoulder blades off the floor. And then exhale, lift the pelvis off the floor, just an inch or so. Inhale, arch the back, press into the back of the head, lift the shoulders. And exhale, press it all down, tucking the pelvis, pressing into the feet, lifting the hips up. Bring it down, inhale, arching, pressing into the head, lifting the shoulder blades up. Exhale, press it all down, pressing into the feet, lifting the hips. And again, inhale, arch. And exhale, round and tuck and lift. Very good. Inhale, arching. And exhale, pressing everything flat. Tucking the pelvis and lifting it up as high as it'll go. Try to keep the knees over the ankles. Let's bring the hips back down. Inhale, arching. And exhale, lifting the hips up. Pressing each vertebra back down into the mat as you lower down. Take a breath in. And then exhale, press into the feet, lifting the pelvis up as high as it'll go. Slowly lower down each vertebra, one after the other. Inhale. Exhale, press into the feet, lifting the pelvis off the floor. Coming down slowly, one vertebra after the other. Inhale. Exhale, press into the feet, lift the pelvis. And here we're going to bring the hands together under the back. Interlace the fingers if this is possible. Lift the hips and shimmy those shoulders under your back, lifting the chest a little higher. We'll hold here for a few breaths. Inhale deeply. Now, if you can, try lifting one leg off the ground, keeping the hips up, and then bring it down. And then let's try lifting the other leg up off the ground, and then slowly lowering it down. Let's release the hands and bring them to the floor beside the ears, palms down, fingers pointing towards the shoulders, like we did when we were kids. From here, you might press into the top of the head. You might. The shoulders may be a little bit resistant, but if they're opening up and the strength is there, you might be able to push off your head onto the hands, coming into a full wheel. Breathe while you're here. As you come down, tuck your chin to your chest, place the back of your head on the floor, slowly lowering down one vertebra at a time. And then let the knees drop in towards each other, resting on your back. Take a few deep breaths. Let's bring the knees into the chest and give them a hug. You can rock a little bit if you like. So from here, we're going to come into plow, bringing the legs over the head and the hands onto the back. Now the feet do not have to touch the floor. As a matter of fact, you can have the knees quite bent and let them drop down towards your head. Now you want your elbows close together so that the arms can support you well. You want to keep the jaw relaxed so you're not clenching the teeth. And you want the neck and throat to relax. So here I'm softening the knees and allowing them to drop to each side of my face. Now, not all of you will get there right away, but at some point. And then after a while, you can extend the legs, stretching the heels back, feeling the hamstrings lengthening. Keep breathing fully here. If you like, you can raise one leg up toward the ceiling. Hold it for a breath or two. When you're ready, bring that leg back down. And let's raise the opposite leg up toward the ceiling. And while you're here, keep breathing fully. Let's lower that leg back down. If you can and you feel safe, bring both legs up. Squeeze those shoulders and elbows towards each other so that there's more support. Keep the hands on the back, pushing the pelvis upward. Relax the jaw, relax the throat, and breathe. You may need to use your buttock muscles, your glutes, and your abdominal muscles here to help keep your legs elevated upward. This is an excellent pose for draining the lymph from the legs back toward the kidneys, removing the waste from the cells. It's also amazing for bringing more blood to the brain and the sense organs. It's a little bit like a refresher. There's also energy flowing to the throat, stimulating the thyroid gland, which is the master gland of the body in the metabolism. So very important to keep balanced and healthy. You can hold this pose for up to 3 or 5 minutes even, but today we're holding it just for 1.5 minutes. You can bring the legs down slowly, put the hands on the floor and use the arms as brakes as you lower down one vertebra at a time. Go slowly. Bring the knees back into the chest as a transition position for the low back. When you feel ready, you can place the feet on the floor, still keeping the knees bent. You can part the feet wider and let the knees drop in what we call constructive rest. Still taking deep breaths. Extend the legs out. We're going to come into fish pose. Bring the arms under the body as much as possible. Palms down. Really get those elbows underneath you. And then we're going to rise up onto the elbows, looking at the toes for a moment. And then lift the chest all the way, squeezing the shoulder blades behind you, and let the top of the head come back down to the floor. Arching the back, squeezing the shoulders back underneath you, taking a few deep breaths. This is the counter pose to plow, which we were in last. Deep breath. And we'll lift the head and look at the toes again and slowly roll back down and remove the hands. Let's come to rest on our back for a few breaths. Inhaling fully and exhaling completely. Our intention to rest between poses is to bring the heart rate back into a neutral resting rate, so that when we move into our next pose, we're coming from a balanced state. This helps to regulate the hormones in the body, keep the blood pressure regulated, and also the nervous system balanced and calm. Still taking long, deep breaths. Let's bring the knees up toward the chest and hug underneath the knees. We're going to round the back and roll up and back, all the way up to the tailbone, all the way back to the shoulders, many times, keeping the spine curled and round and avoiding having any flat spots as we come down onto our back. This helps to keep the spine flexible and the muscles supporting the spine relaxed and massaged. We're going to come up finally to sit on our bottom, keeping the legs elevated and releasing the arms. We call this little boat. So this is an abdominal exercise. It's very good for balancing and creating abdominal strength. We're going to bring the arms to one side, twisting the body slightly, and then the other side. And again, inhale to one side, and again, the other side. And then finally coming back to center, hug the knees in close and extend the legs up as far as they'll go. Find balance here, and once you do, release the legs again, holding this new position. And then let's come to cross our legs. We're going to warm up our wrists. Let's bring the hands together, interlacing the fingers. We're going to roll the wrists, using one hand to roll the other, and then again the opposite way. Then we'll extend the arms out in front and tuck the thumbs into the palms and wrap the fingers around. We're going to make big circles with the fists so that the wrists have these rotations, spreading the synovial fluid through the joints. You might notice some stretching going on through the wrist muscles. Now let's extend one arm out and pull all the fingers back on that hand, including the thumb. Take a deep breath. And then we'll switch hands, pulling all the fingers back on the opposite hand, again taking a deep breath. And then we can bring the fingertips to the floor and let the palms come down. Now they may not come all the way, don't push them. This is good for all us computer users. Release slowly, and then we'll bring the arms up over the head, interlace the fingers, and we're going to bend over to one side, taking a deep breath. Inhale coming up, and let's go to the other side, and again extend and breathe deeply. Coming back up to center, bend the elbows and bring the hands down behind the head, reaching for the spine with the thumbs, pushing the head against the forearms. And then we'll slowly lower the arms down behind the back. We're going to clasp the forearms or the elbows without pushing to get to the elbows. Just accept where you're at, take some deep breaths, relaxing the shoulders. From here, we're going to slide the hands apart and then bring the tips of the fingers together. Perhaps you can push them up your back, bringing the palms towards each other. Or you can have the hands down a little lower with the palms facing down. Whatever works for you. Make sure you're breathing deeply. Take one more deep breath. Slide the hands slowly down the back and bring them the opposite way, interlacing the fingers and stretching the arms back and out and opening the chest and lifting the chin. Let's take a deep breath or two into the chest, pulling the shoulders away from the ears, and release. So we're going to cross the right elbow over the left elbow and then wrap the hands around each other. Keep the elbows up and the chest up as you drop your chin and take a few deep breaths between the shoulder blades. Lifting the elbows and the head up, take a deep breath. And then bringing the elbows down, keeping the cross in the elbows, but releasing through the shoulder blades. And release, send the arms out wide, flexing the wrists and spreading the fingers. Keep the shoulders down. Reach the arms long. Breathe. And then we're going to cross the left elbow over the right elbow and bringing the palms towards each other. Now, if you cannot clasp the palms like this, just hold on to one finger if it's possible. Drop the chin towards the chest and breathe between the shoulder blades as you press the elbows forward. Deep breaths between the shoulder blades. And raise the elbows, looking up, take a breath. And then lower the elbows toward the chest, letting the hands drop forward, but keeping the cross in the elbows, feeling the stretch behind the shoulder blades. And again, release, stretch the arms out wide, flex the wrists, spread the fingers, breathe deeply. Let's make small circles going in one direction with the arms in this position. And then in the opposite direction. And then we'll bring the arms down and rest them for a few breaths. We're going to come into table position on our hands and our knees. Knees are thigh bone width apart and wrists are under shoulders. Let's arch the back and look up. And then exhale, round the back, tucking the pelvis, tucking the chin, mid-back rises. And release, let the chest drop between the shoulder blades, tailbone and head rise. And exhale, round the back, curling the spine. Inhale, arching, looking up, chest dropping. Exhale, rounding, tucking chin and tailbone. Inhale, arch. And exhale, round. Inhale, looking up. And exhale, curling the spine, coming to neutral. From here, we're going to look over the right shoulder at the right foot without swinging the hips to the side. Come back to center. Inhale, look over the left shoulder at the left foot. This is creating a side stretch. Come back to center. We'll do this one more time. Inhale over the right. And back to center. Exhale. Inhale over the left. And exhale back to center. From here, we're going to plant the tops of the feet down into the floor and reach the right arm forward and the left leg back. Press into the shoulder supporting you. Let's switch. Left arm, right leg up and press out of that right shoulder, lifting, see, and not shrugging, but pushing out of the shoulder. Good. Hands and knee down. Again, inhale, switch. Right arm, left leg. Pushing up out of the left shoulder. And bring it down. Inhale, switch. Left arm, right leg. Keep breathing. And let's bring it down. Again, inhale, switch, and bring it down. Last one, inhale, switch, and bring the limbs down. From here, turn your toes under and sit back on your heels, but don't move your hands. Keep them right where they are. Breathe. The toes are not going to be happy about this, but the feet really need this this stretch in the back of the toes and into the arches. You can apply less pressure by putting more weight into the knees if it's very uncomfortable. Keep taking deep breaths. From here, we're going to push into the hands and lift the knees, coming into downward facing dog, lifting the pelvis up, dropping the heels toward the floor and pressing into the arms, reaching long through the body. Breathe deeply here. Long, full breaths. Swing the hips to one side and then the other. And again, we're going to stretch the legs one at a time, reaching one heel back farther and letting it drop. Taking a breath. And then we'll switch. Step back into downward dog and switch the legs, bringing the opposite heel back further and letting it drop down toward the floor. This is stretching the Achilles and the calf muscles. And come back into downward dog. From here, we're going to bring the knees down to the floor and step the right foot to the outside of the right hand. And from here, we're just going to let the hips sink down toward the floor, releasing the tension in the left hip flexor. This is an area that gets very tight from sitting in a chair or driving all day. From here, we're going to reach the right arm back. And then bring it back to the floor, stepping that right foot back, coming into plank pose. You can do it from the knees or from the toes. Try not to lock the elbows here. Stay soft through the elbows, but push up out of the shoulder blades, keeping the fingers widespread. And of course, breathing. Knees to the floor, belly to the floor, and chest to the floor. Bring your forehead down. Inhale, lift the chest partly off the floor, using the arms just a little. Squeeze the elbows back behind you. Coming up a little bit more, keeping the shoulders away from the ears, and then finally coming all the way up into upward dog. Bending the knees, turning the toes, and coming into downward dog. Hips up, heels down, deep breaths. Bring the knees back to the floor. Let's step the left foot to the outside of the left hand and swing the hips forward into lunge. Allow the right hip flexor to release down. Keep the chest reaching forward. Breathe deeply. From here, we're going to reach back with the left arm. Take a deep breath. Bring your left hand back down. Step back with the left foot. You can come from the knees or the toes into plank, drawing the navel up toward the spine, pressing out of the shoulders, pulling long from the crown of the head to the heels, and then slowly coming back down. Knees, belly, chest. Inhale, cobra. And then all the way up into upward dog. And exhale, downward facing dog. Deep breaths. Let's step forward between the hands this time and reach up with the arms, arching the back. Use the power in the right hip to support you here. So press into the right heel. Bring the hands down. Step back into plank. Exhale, lower. You can do flat body or partial from the knees. Inhale, upward dog. And exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, left foot steps between the hands, reaching up with the arms, pressing into the left heel. Deep breath. Bring the hands back down to the floor, stepping back into plank. There's different ways to come down. Here you can come down into the 8-limbed pose, which is knees, chest, forehead, and then upward dog. And exhale, downward dog. From here, bring the knees to the floor and come into child's pose, resting and taking a few deep breaths. Breathing deeply into the back of the lungs, filling up. Letting the head rest down, releasing all tension in the spine. Let's take another deep breath in. And as you exhale, we're going to slowly come back up onto our hands and our knees for a moment. From here, we'll come into pigeon pose, bringing the right knee toward the right wrist and the left foot toward the left wrist. You can use a block to help support you here if your hips are very far from the floor. But sometimes it's nice to have that bit of a gap to reach down toward. If the knee is bothering you here, you can always slide your right foot closer to your left hip. We're going to sit upright for a few breaths. Think about relaxing the left hip flexor, breathing deeply. So the hips are a little bit difficult to release, and so it takes a little longer in each pose to have any change. So often pigeon is held for a few minutes on each side. When you feel ready, you're able to bring your elbows and forearms down to the floor and lower yourself so that the weight of the body is shifted now and the stretch is more dominant in the right hip rather than the left hip flexor. You can use a block or your hands to support your head. Make sure you're breathing deeply into the back of the lungs. Long, full, deep breaths. Let's take another full breath. We'll slowly make our way up. So there's different ways to come out. In this case, we're going to push back into a downward dog, pressing the heels toward the floor, lifting the sit bones up. Then we're going to switch sides, bringing the left knee toward the left wrist and the left foot towards the right wrist. And we'll be upright for a little while, taking long, deep breaths. Breathing deeply. Allow that right hip flexor to release as you let the hips sink toward the floor. You come down onto your forearms now and let the head rest down. Breathing deeply into your back. Long, full breaths all the way up in between the shoulder blades. Inhale all the way down into the low back. And do your best to let those hips relax. Let's take a few more deep breaths. Slowly make our way back up, pushing back into downward facing dog, stretching out the backs of the legs, letting the heels drop. Taking deep breaths. Then we'll come back onto the knees and make our way onto our back. Let's make sure that the limbs are far from the body. The hands and feet are relaxed. From here, we're going to bring our feet to the floor, bending our knees, and then knees into the chest, giving them a hug. We're going to let the knees drop over to the right side, opening up the left arm, coming into a twist. Let that left shoulder drop back toward the floor. And you can use your right hand to pull the left knee down or hold it in place at least so it's not sliding away. Relax and let the limbs drop. And breathe deeply into the back of the lungs. Inhaling fully, filling up the side and back of the lungs. And exhaling slowly and completely, letting the body come into the twist a little more. Let's take another deep breath. I'm going to draw the navel toward the spine on the exhale and bring the knees right back into the chest as you roll onto the back, giving them a hug, allowing the lengthening of the spine to balance the twist. And then we'll slowly lower the legs to the left side, opening up the right arm, allowing the right shoulder to drop toward the floor. Breathing deeply, filling the lungs, and relaxing. With each breath, your body moves more deeply into the twist. Inhale fully. And exhale completely. Take a few more deep breaths here. As you exhale, draw the navel to the spine and bring the knees back into the chest, giving them a hug. From here, we're going to come into a supported bridge. So bring your feet to the floor and reach for your block and lift your pelvis, placing the block horizontally under the pelvis at the lowest setting. Part your feet to the width of the mat and drop the knees inward, allowing the hips to relax. The low back feels as though it's sinking toward the floor, and if it feels like it's lifting up away from the floor, that means your block needs to be pushed closer down toward your tailbone. Just relax everything here, especially the jaw, and continue breathing deeply, especially into the back of the lungs. Breathing deeply into the front, the sides, and the back of the lungs. Lift the hips and see if you can turn the block up one level. If it feels uncomfortable, put it back down to the first step. But here, you're going to have an increased lengthening in the low back. Breathe into it. Still breathing deeply. Let's lift the hips and bring the block down to the first level. From here, we're going to bring the knees into the chest and give them a hug while the block is still under the pelvis. And then, without putting the feet down, push the block out from underneath you. Put your feet onto the floor and roll to the side. From here, you're going to slowly push yourself up, rounding your back. We're going to place the block a little bit higher on the mat so that it comes under the shoulder blades, mid-back shoulder blade area, so we can lay back over it, letting the head and shoulders drop back. Now this could be a little high for some, and if that's the case, use a rolled towel. Here we're opening up the chest, releasing upper back tension. If you feel too much pinching in the neck, perhaps a pillow of some kind that's not too high under the head would be helpful, or even another block. Let's take long, deep breaths, filling up the front of the lungs, releasing the shoulders back down toward the floor. Full deep breaths. Still taking long, full, deep breaths into the lungs all the way from the bottom rib to the collarbones. Let's take a couple more breaths. We're going to bend the knees, bringing the feet to the floor. We're going to roll off to one side. Inhale as you do, and we'll pause here for a few breaths. Round the back by bringing the knees up a little bit higher. And as you're ready, press into the left arm and push yourself up, rounding your back. Coming to sit. Now you can finish in Shavasana for another 10 minutes if you like. It's always nice to finish in a relaxed pose. But I'll say goodbye for now. Namaste.